Hello friends, myself Sriram Korde. Now we are understanding strings. So let's try to understand a very interesting thing and then we will basically develop more things with respect to string once we understand this very basic thing. So now here you will see I have written few lines and I have kept it ready because there is nothing difficult or something I am trying to write here. Here I just have declared a buffer and then I ask the user to enter his or her complete name. That's why I've kept the buffer, that means the character array, which is significantly good enough, say 40 characters. Okay, so which typically will hold your complete name. That means your first name, your middle name, and your family name or surname. Okay, so that typically will be is good enough 40. So I do scanf, and then obviously I just simply print the name. So you may say, what is the thing that I am trying to do, or what is that I am trying to show? So let's see that in now action. Okay, and then probably you will understand what we are trying to achieve. So here you will see now the prompt has come which says enter your complete name. Okay, so let us say that I give some complete name as say Arvind, and then say some middle name as say Rahul, and say some Indian name. Okay, so I can give some surname. Okay, or I can probably give another some name which typically people can associate. Okay, so probably it could be like Ramanathan. Okay, so let us say Ramanathan is the surname. Okay, so I'm just giving. So now you can see what has happened. Once I given this input, which is Arvind Rahul Ramanathan, that is her complete name, then what has happened? Only Arvind got printed. So probably now we will understand what I am trying to show it to you. That means when I used scanf and when I wanted to give the complete name, then basically it flunked and you basically couldn't get the complete name. You only got the first portion of this. I could run it once again and I can show it to you. Let's say that complete name is say ABC, then say LMN and say XYZ. So we'll say only ABC gets printed. We can very clearly see here ABC getting printed. That means there is something which is not happening correctly. So the here now the culprit is scanf. So scanf ignores the moment you give space, it ignores those things which come after space. Why? Because I give ABC space element and XYZ. It same thing applies to our earlier data entry that I did with Arvind and that name. Okay. So the important thing is the moment it basically hits a space bar, then that particular scanf essentially completes its reading and only that portion gets read or fed as an input. So how do you tackle this? So the way to tackle it is there are string support and we will learn more about it. But now just to give you an idea, we are going to use now something very interesting, and that interesting is we are going to rely on a function which is called as getS. So getS we can do, and then to getS we simply are going to give the f name. Okay, that's it. So you basically pass the address of the buffer, whatever the buffer or the character array that you have reserved for, and you can use it. And now let's try to see how it works. Now let me give once again the name, say ABC, then LMN, and say XYZ is the surname. So now you think everything has come. You see, you can see that ABC, LMN, and XYZ. So probably we can now give some better name here. So let's say again Arvind, Manohar, and say Ramalingam. You can see the complete name has come. Now, another important issue is that we could tackle this. Now, if I would have used scanf, then obviously this particular thing would have got skipped. That means the middle name and the surname would have got skipped. Now, there is a complementary function to getS. Many times people may not use printf. There is a complementary function to printf, and that is basically called as puts. It's basically it's a put string. So what is this? This is essentially a get string function, and here we are using put string. Puts basically is a put string. Okay, so now here I can simply pass f name. Now I don't require printf. Okay, and if this is specifically to string, so I don't require this percentages as s and things like that to be given. So I can simply use this, and I can now run this. So let me now give the name, say Arvind, Raju, and say Krishnan. So you can see now the complete it has come, and puts is able to handle that. So that's the very important thing. That was the point I just wanted to tell, was the limitation with respect to scanf. That's the important learning, and we have to rely on the string support, which is part of C that has been developed. So now I have given you a glimpse of that. Now probably we need to take a look at several support that is already part of C, and on that basis other languages or other scripting languages and other languages like C++ and Java, they basically have inspired from it, and they obviously have enhanced that string support, but the base thought process basically is already embedded or is already part of C. So let's now try to understand more functions which are part of C. So this is a library which is called a string.h. One can use that, and then we can use those functions. So first is a string length. Now you may say that this function is there, then why did we develop my string length? Because we have developed that in our earlier video. So the reason to develop was that now you get an idea that how typically a function which is part of C library can be developed. Okay. So here there is a function which is called a string length, which can help us to get the length of the string. Then there are little advanced functions, like it is going to convert a lowercase, rather it is going to convert a string to a lowercase. That's why here string LWR, that means lowercase. Similarly, there is a function which is going to convert to the uppercase. Then concatenation or concat or string cat, basically, so it's going to concatenate or essentially is going to join. So it appends one string at the end of another. Then string cat, so it appends n characters. Basically, here you can specify how many characters you want. So you basically need to provide that. So appends n characters of a string at the end of another. Then string copy, it's going to copy a string into another. Similarly, then string and copy, that's another version. Then string compare, you can compare two strings. Then it returns whether the strings are equal or not. So that's a very good handy function, and it helps when you develop a longer program. Then there are other versions like string and compare, string ignoring the case, so stricmp, so it ignores basically the regarding without regard to a case, so it essentially it ignores the case. Then string ni, that means nicmp, so it's going to compare n characters only without irrespective of the case. Then duplicates the string. Then strchr, it finds occurrence of a particular character. Then it finds last occurrence, strr. Then str is basically finds first occurrence of a given string. That means you can search a substring in between, okay, in a string. Then it sets all characters of a string to a given character, that is str set. Then you have strn set, so which is again a version of that. And then reversing the string, again many times we tend to use this function very widely. So very popular functions are obviously string length, then string cat many times we use, then string copy, that's a very handy function, and then obviously all its different versions like string and copy and all that. Then compare we need to use, and then reversing is very important. Okay, so these are very commonly used functions and their versions. And then obviously depending on your requirement you may use duplicate, and then many times substring formation helps. So that means string character, particularly you want to find whether a character is there. So all these things, these functions are pretty widely used, and some of them are more widely used, like copy, compare, and all that. So that essentially these functions, and they are all part of string.h library. So now what we will do is we will take a example, and we will understand how can one develop our own function which is going to copy a string. Okay, now that is a very interesting function, and that's why we are going to use this. Okay, so let's go to the Visual Studio Code, and let us say that this is the empty file that you have, the same file that I have used during calculation of length. Now what we want is we want to develop our own function my string copy. Okay, we'll do that cpy. Okay, so we want to copy basically a function, you develop a function which is going to copy the string. Okay, so let's do that. So now I just have provided the prototype, that means, and we need to now provide the appropriate parameters so that it can work. Okay, so what we will now do is we will you call this function mystrcopy. Now what we require is we want this string. So this is a source string. Let us say the string is currently declared and it is basically initialized to say string Bangalore. I want to copy this Bangalore string into the target, and I call that array as buf and I have given a substantially larger size so that you can copy a decently sized string into the buffer. So we want to copy basically this. So that means now I need to use the pointer, so which we have done earlier like this. So we used pointers, okay, and accordingly we found length. So using the similar concept now, so that means now I need to pass the thing. So what I need to pass is first is a string, that is a base address, and another is buf. Okay, because this is the place where I want to copy. So normally the syntax or normally the way in which string copy works, that means the function which is already part of c string.h, this string copy. Okay, so it's copy the string into another. So it works with first is a source and another is a target. Okay, so using that approach, that's why here target and source. So let me just put it here in short. So source and target are the parameters. Okay, and it has, we follow the same order. Okay, so that means here now you need to have declared here, you need to tell as part of prototype definition or declaration, we need to have this. So that's the one. Now we will have here char star, I'll just put it here s, and then char star t, so t for target. Okay, so now we want to basically just copy that. Okay, so we can now copy and we will, after that what should I do is printf. I can use printf, I can use puts also, now we know that. Okay, so we can simply use printf and say percentage %s, and then after that I can print the buf. Okay, because I am interested in buffer. Okay, so here I can give a nice message target string, and then I can give the buffer. Okay, so now that means now I need to code this basically. So what I should now do is I will have to pass these parameters. Okay, so now the way in which I should pass this parameter is I will be using this technique. So now you have this while loop, then instead of just incrementing the length I need to just copy. So the same loop I can simply use this, okay, with a little modifications. So I will have here integer I is equal to 0, that I require, but here right now I'll just initialize to 0. Now obviously here there is no p, so here we have s. So s of I is, while s of I, we know that now technique, that means it's writing not equal to \0. So we know that because source is the string, and now we can simply copy here. So what we should do is t of I am using the subscripted option because many people get confused with pointer syntaxes. Okay, so I'm just using the simple subscripted syntax. So we are just going to copy. Okay, that's it, and then we will increment I plus plus. Okay, so that's it. Now comes a very interesting thing, because if I just do it, then my job is not done. Why? Because I already told you, when you have these double quotes and the string, then internally compiler puts \0. So we know that now that it's going to put \0, and I have told you that. Okay, so \0 basically gets inserted or it gets added in the end, obviously. Okay, so we know that. So here I have to do it forcefully. So what should I do now? T of I, this last, after the loop is over, that means the full copy will is done, then basically what I need to do is I need to just have it ended with \0. Okay, and then that's it, otherwise I will have problem in printing. Okay, so I ended the string, that is the target string, with \0. So now let's try to run this. We already know that we are providing the string which is Bangalore. I hope there are no compiler errors. Yeah, you can see this target string now is Bangalore, and it has printed whatever the content are there in buf. So how it worked? Basically, it took this string. There is a pointer. Obviously, I use this subscripted variable, and then it went on till it reaches the backslash 0. That means it will lead to false. Till that time, what it will do? It is going to copy character by character. That means B will get copied, then I will get copied, and all that. So if you are interested or if one needs to know this, we can simply have a breakpoint here. We can just do debugging, and in the watch I can simply add watch on BUF. Sorry, I need to add watch on S of I and T of I. This is T, and you can see this T. This is what B has come. Okay, so if you obviously put T of 0, T of 1, T of 2, you are going to get everything. Okay, so let me just put that. So let us say I put here T of 0, so you get B Bangalore. Then I will add here T of 1, so you will get it like this. Okay, so you can see BA has come. So like that you will see character by character the things got copied, and now finally the backslash 0 will get added, and then the program will end, and you will see the answer coming as Bangalore. If I want to give a better bigger string, say Bangalore Airport International, I hope it fits into 50, International Terminal, something like that I want to give. So let's run that. Yeah, you can see this Bangalore Airport International Terminal. All those things, whatever I provided, got copied, and then it got appropriately printed because I used printf and %s, so it worked perfectly. So that's the way typically we can develop functions. However, normally we don't develop the functions. What we do typically will be we simply copy. So if I now just say that I will copy, I can very easily do that. Okay, so what I can now do is for the time being I will not call this function. Okay, I will not call this function, and these are the two buffers. And now what I will do is I will simply include string.h. So I will simply include string.h. So I am done. Now what I will do is I will simply copy str. You can see this all help has already started coming. Okay, so string copy, and then it tells like you need to have source, and then you need to have basically the source, and here is the destination and then the source. Okay, so here I have provided it like this. That's why it was our own function. So now we can best just provide it in a reverse way. Okay, so it doesn't matter. So here as per the definition or as per the documentation we need to follow. So let me just check it. Okay, so here we need to provide buff, and here we need to provide the str. That means it's the source. Let's run it. Yeah, you can see this output has come perfectly. Bangalore Airport International Terminal. That means the way in which we have developed MyStr CPY, probably we need a little updation in that thought process. Typically, we have source and we target is what we typically will do because it's our own function. But here, what is happening is as per the internal implementation of the and where the documentation is provided, you first need to provide destination and then the target. So obviously we can change this. It doesn't matter to us. So if I want to use this also and don't want to use it, then I can simply change it, and I can make this as BUF and this as SRC. That means STR. So let me just update it, and this will be STR or source, target and source. So obviously here we need to have T and we need to have here S. Otherwise there is no change in the code because rest of the things everything remains the same. It's just the way in which we are just mimicking now the way in which string.h uses it. Okay, so we can simply call this function now mystrcpy and see how it works. Yeah, so it is working perfectly, and now we have changed the order also properly so that it matches exactly the way in which strcpy works. So now we can do away with our call, and we can rely on what is part of string.h, that means strcpy is the thing. Similarly, we could use str compare, whether we want to compare if there are two strings, then we can compare and things like that. So let me just run this now once again, and it prints appropriately. Target string is Bangalore International Airport, and we are using the call which is strcpy. So I hope you like this video. This gave you an idea of various functions which are part of C string.h support. Then we also understood how do we develop our own one more function like string copy, and we also ensured that then we match the parameters, the way in which first and second order with respect to how typically it is done with respect to the library. And another important thing is we also learned the limitation with respect to scanf, and then we used gettys so that we can get the complete or the full string. I hope you like this video. Thank you.